New Thought Media Network proudly presents Lindsay Leimbach, Practicing Infinite Possibilities, Fridays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And now, here's Lindsay.
Hey everybody, welcome to PIP. Here, let me get Buster so he can say hi too. Welcome to PIP, Practicing Infinite Possibilities. And I'm really excited because we've been doing the series, The 7 Laws of Spiritual Success with the Foundation with Deepak Chopra. And we've been talking in the last couple of weeks, we talked the law of pure potentiality and the law of giving. Today, we're going to be doing the deeper dive, the law of karma. Oh, it's such a good one, right? Because we're creating our karma all the time, and we're actually feeling our past karma all the time. So I just want to welcome everyone to New Thought Media Network. If you are in California, it's 9 o'clock and you're having coffee with me or tea or just maybe a good healthy glass of water. And on the East Coast, you're having lunch, and in Europe, you're having dinner. Or maybe you're seeing this on a rerun. I'm just really excited that you're here and you're participating. Feel free to add comments. Tell me that you're here and, like it so it gets spread around, because everyone needs to learn about karma. So before we start that, I want to put up our quote of the day. Here's the quote of the day. If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough. I love that. It's just really there. Who said that, guys? If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it would be enough. Why is that true? Think about it. Why is thank you the golden prayer? The golden prayer. And who said that? What time was it when it was said? I'm going to show you right here. Oops. Drop down. Here we go. There he is. Master Eckhart, who was a German Catholic monk in 1260 to 1328. So if you think back, and maybe we all don't really remember our histories, but the world was pretty nutso in 1260, right? So that was the Middle Ages. And there was a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. And in the Catholic regime, or the Catholic religion, maybe we should call it the religion, but the Catholicism, there was a lot of rules and a lot of hierarchy. And here is this monk who comes out and he makes this statement. If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough. You know why? Because it's true. It is true. Gratitude. Now, when science has stepped up and caught up to these wonderful mystics and philosophers from way back when, Jesus, Buddha, Mother Teresa, that isn't way back when, but it is in fact, with all this great wisdom. And when they come out and they're saying to you, gratitude, being thankful, being in that present moment of seeing what is going on in the world and registering it in your heart, and then being able to express it. Now, what does that mean? Well, actually, what you're accessing is the heart and the mind body, And you're resonating with not old habits, which is down here. When we've talked about it, remember your reptilian, your mammalian, and your prefrontal cortex, the different parts of the brain. When you're going to gratitude, you're being the observer. You're using your higher consciousness. You're not going in habitual thinking. You're thinking with the lid off appearing in with the positive mindset, with the learning mindset, not with fear, but with kindness and with love. And they're finding out that people that have a learning mindset, people who have a gratitude mindset, they live longer. Why? Because they're not so stressed out. So even when you're dealt a hard card, right? When you're a child, you're dealt a hard card, you didn't get your toy or whatever happened, you have a tantrum. That's the old mindset. You don't go to gratitude of all the wonderful things. You think about what you lost. That's a really caveman way of thinking. What I don't want, what I lost. But gratitude and saying thank you is leaning into what you want and what you appreciate and what is working for you. It's really powerful. It puts you right there with Christ consciousness. It puts you right there with your Buddha nature. It puts you in seeing the ohms, the ordinary miracles. So last week we were also talking about the law of giving. And we were saying, when you give, what you give, you receive, right? And we talked about dropping pennies around. And when you drop pennies around, you're participating with the law of giving. And I had a friend who did this, who dropped pennies around. And guess what? All of a sudden, they found out that they had a pension that they did not know that they had. Social Security got in touch with them and said, by the way, you have a pension from way back when. And they're like, you've got to be kidding. That's the flow. Ordinary miracles, ordinary miracles. It happens all the time. And that's with finances, but it happens with love. If you give love, you receive love, right? If you give a smile, you receive a smile. If you give anger, sadness, pain, dumping, negativity, pessimism, you know what? You will receive that back. So that is the law of giving. We want to be in that flow, knowing that the flow goes out and then it comes back. It goes out and it comes back. And that's the law of pure potentiality. You always have this energy out there, this wonderful energy, this Christ consciousness, this Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it. You can just call it nature in itself, but it is always growing. It's always changing. And it's always in the flow. I love to study Buddhism. And one thing in Buddhism, let's see, I'm going to come down here and take off my banner, is the study of impermanence. Impermanence. The Buddha said the world is impermanent. It is always changing. Don't be surprised. It's always in the flow. Well, that's the same as the 7 laws of spiritual success, is understanding that there's the law of pure potentiality. So things are always moving. Everything is energy. And then the law of giving, that there's this always flow going. There's this flux. And if you are not giving and you're hoarding, then that's a choice in itself. And that will bring lack and not enough and those feelings. But still, things are always changing. They just are not changing the way you might want them to be, right? All right, I'm going to go up to my comments. I'll see who's Kevin. Oh my gosh, thank you for being here. Kevin, I forgot what state you're in. I think you're in New Mexico. So it's so nice to see you. It's so nice to see you. And thank you, Wendell Leimbach. Look, I just want to throw this up. So sweet. Thank you, Dad, and thank you, Mom. Thank you. He wrote, thank you for being a wonderful daughter. Well, there's the good beginning of law of karma. My dad and my mom are great parents, and they're always learning and growing with me. And so therefore, we reflect back and forth. And actually, we had stumbling blocks in our lives. Oh, yeah, Kevin says he is in New Mexico. Very cool. Roswell in the capital. Wow. Oh, wait. Yup, the UFO capital, Roswell. Not the capital of New Mexico, the UFO capital. Well, I'm glad you're with me too. So let's get into karma. Let's really, I'll do, you know what? I wanted to show the pictures of my hearts, and I'm going to write that down right now so I don't forget to show you the hearts. Let me write it here so I can remember. I'll show you at the end because I want to really dive in to karma. So what does Deepak Chopra say about karma, the law of karma? Why is it so important? Well, we know really the law of karma is action and consequence. It's that simple. We teach it to our children all the time. If you clean your room, you get a reward. If you yell at me, you will get punished. Action, consequence, right? So even if you go and you yell at somebody in the, I don't know, in the mall or something like that, or you see someone yelling in the mall, they're having action and consequences together, but all the other people are witnessing it. And that itself is action and consequences. If I see someone yelling at someone and then they come over and talk to me, their actions to someone else, but I've observed and I can feel their energy, will put me on the defensive, right? And then that person's like, why isn't anyone liking me? And it's like, because I remembered that you yelled at your dog in the park 2 days ago. And if you yell at your dog, what are you going to do to me? I mean, we don't realize that, but we're putting energy out all the time. And that's karma. That's karma. It's cause and effect. It's cause and effect. So, of course, from the beginning of time, people have realized this. They say, what you sow, you reap, right? What you sow, you reap. I remember my grandmom saying that. What you sow, you reap, Lindsay. So in other words, what you do now, you'll get the rewards. If you plant corn, you'll get corn, right? But if you plant tomatoes, you'll get tomatoes. And who gets to do the planting? I do. So once again, it goes back to the analogy that I said before. God is the paint. We are the paintbrush. But what we do with our paintbrush is our karma. What we do with it, what we put into it. Now, this is something that people don't realize, but you're setting up your karma not by making a choice of, do I go to work and not go to work? Obviously, you can see the karma in that. Or do I go to school, or do I skip school, or do I smoke cigarettes? I don't smoke cigarettes. But actually, you are doing it. That's very conscious choices, but you're doing it as unconscious choices all the time. All the time. How you react to a situation sets up the karma. So example for me today, I'm getting ready. I wear contacts, and my contacts weren't good. So I was like, I got to get my new contacts. I can't find the box of contacts. And I was like, this is not good. I need to have some contacts so I can look at the computer, right? And I thought to myself, I could feel my heart race. I could feel the tension in my body. And I started to think, oh no. And then I stopped. And I took that sacred pause, and I took a breath, and I said, it's going to work out, Lindsay. If you get yourself upset and I go into a fight, flight, freeze mode, which would be an unconscious response to this situation of not having my contacts, that will not help me. And that will actually make me feel uncomfortable being here on PIP. So I'm like, this is an example of karma. I need to even lean into missing my contacts, but with a smile on my face, with optimism. So of course I sat back, I took a breath, and I said, well, I can't find my box, but I have one spare in my purse. And I remembered that. And if I went into that panic mode, right, then I would have not remembered where the one spare was. And then I would have just run out of time, and I would have been flustered, and I would have been really upset. So we have to realize that we have a ton of programming inside of us all the time. That is this unconscious reflex that sets up our karma of our life. So I'll give you another example. If you're in a family of people that didn't grow up, and when they ate really fast, and they grabbed all their food, and it's just how the family did it. But then now you're an adult and you have this I talk with my mouth open and I eat really fast, and you do it unconsciously because it was absolutely okay in your family. But you then go out to a business meeting and you start having those behaviors. Well, that's going to be reflected on you. And that's part of your karma. Good or bad, I'm not trying to say it's a judgment, but I am saying that what you present and the energy you put out, and if you're not realizing you're doing it, you're still setting up your karma. You're still setting up your karma. Deepak Chopra has a good example. If you have this book on page 40. So I was going to read it. Let me get to page 40. I like this example because this is really real for us. You know, people think a lot of times karma is something you physically do, but really it's how you act. If you were to, if I were to insult you, you would most likely make a choice of being offended. If I were to pay you a compliment, you would most likely make the choice of being pleased or flattered. But think about it. It's still a choice. How you react to somebody else is always your choice. How you react to the news, how you react to your children, how you react to anything, even how do you react to feeling sick. How you react is always a choice. I could offend you and I could insult you, and you could make the choice of not being offended. Think about the power of that. I could offend you and I could insult you, and you could make the choice of not being offended. I could pay you a compliment and you could make the choice of not letting that flatter you either. See, we get to pick how we feel. And I'll think about it. If a stranger screamed across the street to you and said, "You are so ugly and yucky," and you would look at him and be like, crazy person across the street. You would not take it personally, right? You wouldn't take it personally. But if your husband or your wife, your boyfriend or your girlfriend came out and said, "You are so ugly, you're yucky," you'd be like so offended and hurt. What is the difference? The difference is because you're taking it personally, right? You're having an unconscious feeling of saying what they mean, what they feel is important to you, and therefore it's reflecting you, and therefore you are bringing it into yourself. But you still get to have that choice if you want to do that. Don't take things personally. Don't take things personally. Reaching over to one of my favorite books, The 4 Agreements, right? That's what the 4 agreements. One of the agreements, don't take everything personally. Don't take anything personally. In other words, most of us, even though we are infinite choice makers, and we are infinite choice makers, infinite possibilities, right, have become bundles of conditioned reflexes that are constantly being triggered by people and circumstances in predictable outcomes of behavior. Wow. So in other words, you remember Pavlov's dogs, the scenario with Pavlov's dogs, the conditioning where they rang the bell and then you salivate. We condition ourselves that when we have this experience, we're going to have this reaction. But that is a choice, and that is setting up karma. And if it's not working for you, you can consciously change it. That's why I call myself a mindfulness coach, because it's about understanding what is the karma in your life. If you feel stuck in your life, it's most likely you feel stuck is because you're living in a habitual way and you're setting up karma that repeats itself over and over again. It repeats itself in its job, or it repeats itself in the reactions with your family, your friends, or maybe you got a divorce and then you start dating and you're like, "Oh my God, everyone's exactly the same." No. People aren't exactly the same. You are the same. You're the one who has to do the work. That's the law of karma. The law of karma is that you get to have the infinite power, the law of potentiality, to give, the second law, to give out what you want to receive. And if you are not receiving what you want to give out, then it comes back to you, that you're not working the cause and effect inside yourself. You have the magic. You have the magic. It's so exciting that you have the magic to work with the law of karma. And you have to understand that it exists all the time. But we have to be conscious of it. And that's why the buzzword is mindfulness, because it doesn't sound woo-woo-y and it doesn't even sound spiritual. I mean, to me it does, but to a lot of other people, I've gone into business law firms, I've gone in insurance, real estate agents, JPL, NASA, police officers, firefighters, all different kinds, construction workers. I've done lots and lots of seminars on mindfulness and how the brain works to all these different people, and they love it, from all different religions or no religion or whatever, schools, children, parents, and it's, if I stick on mindfulness, what am I teaching? I'm teaching karma. I'm teaching, hey, take a breath, take that sacred breath, and really look at yourself and see, what are you aligning yourself with? How are you using your personal energy to paint your picture out there? And in some ways, we're doing it magnificently. When you show up to New Thought Media Network and you see all these wonderful people who speak, what are you doing? You're using the law of karma. You're saying, I want to learn more. I want to grow more. I want to remember more. I want to be able to remind myself, so then I can take that in, use that in my habits, and go out in the world and make actions that reflect this higher level of consciousness. That's the law of karma. You're doing it. Being here, you're working it in the positive. But please know, the law of karma is not positive or negative. It's neutral. It's just cause and effect. And so we have to realize, what is the cause that's programmed within us, and bring our energy to a higher level of cause. So then the effect is a higher level of thinking, a higher level of energy, a higher level of manifestation. You cannot deny that the law of karma is running your life, because it is. But it isn't really running your life. I think that's the absolute wrong. It's running through your life. It's a tool which is always existing, and you're painting with the law of karma, right? Okay, so let's lean into, well, Lindsay, what happens if we have to pay our debt of karma? We have past karma, okay? So I wanted to really lean into that one. About past karma. So I just want to read what he says. This is on page 45. What about past karma, and how is it influencing you now? There are 3 things you can do about past karma. One is to pay your karmic debt. Okay. Most people choose to do that unconsciously, of course. This may be a choice you make also. Sometimes there's a lot of suffering involved in the payment of those debts, but the law of karma says no debt in the universe ever goes unpaid. There is a perfect accounting system in the universe, and everything is in a constant to and fro exchange of energy. So if you have negative karma, if you set something up, yes, you have to pay the debt. Now, what does that exactly mean? Well, let me just tell you, sometimes we point fingers and we're like, karma's going to bite him in the butt. But we might not see it. If you act very angry and mean and so forth, it does spill out into the rest of your life. It does, and it affects the people around you. And I've worked with lots of people where parents didn't have the best parenting skills with their children when they were young. They did the very best they could. Okay, let me just explain. And actually, this is true for all of us. As a parent, I did the very best I could, but I made mistakes. That's true. I made mistakes. So when the kids get older and I can understand the mistakes and how they affected them, then I pay my debt of karma by having a conversation with them. I am apologizing. I also am making amends. I'm also making amends. And then you get to build the most wonderful relationship with your adult children. And I get to build a good relationship with my parents as an adult daughter. And you can make amends. So what does this make you think of? I want to, let's see, let me get to here. When I was thinking about, oh gosh, look at this. Alcohol Anonymous. Step 8 and step 9, making amends. Step 8, make a list of all persons you've had harm, that you had harmed, and become willing to make amends to them. Step 9, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when it would do so injure them or others. Okay? So I was thinking, why is AA, NA, all these so good? It's because they're using the law of karma. They're making people have full responsibility for past actions, owning them, and then growing from them. And so I just want to throw you this one other thing, because what is the difference between making amends and apologizing? There's a difference between making amends and offering an apology. An apology is when you say, I'm sorry to someone you've hurt. When you make amends, you take action to right the wrong that you have done and restore the balance in the other person. That is how you work with negative karma. When you realize you made a mistake, now you unconsciously might have made a mistake or out of ignorance made a mistake. So I did some poor parenting when I was younger, and I think some of that was out of ignorance. I didn't know any better. I did the best I could with what I had. But it doesn't mean it could still and has, hurt my children or hurt other people. But once you become more aware of what you did, then you own up to it. And that's how you change your karma. Now, the second way to change your karma is that you learn, you transcend your negative karma. You learn from it. Okay, I made amends, but how can I learn and grow and become better? How can I use it as a golden nugget? How can I see the rainbow in it? And a lot of people do that quite well in making amends, in that they end up becoming teachers so other people don't make the same mistake. And that transforms the karma big time, big time. And then the third way to transcend your karma, okay, is when meditation, the sacred silence. Deepak Chopra talks about, like, if you had a stain on your clothes and you wash it in the washing machine and you do it over and over and over and over again, well, the stain doesn't go totally away, but it lightens up. That's the same when we do the spiritual practice, when we do our meditation, when we center ourselves and balance in God. Yes, we might have made mistakes in the past, but we've forgiven ourselves. We've made amends the best we can. We've transcended and learned from it. And the stain might still be there. People might remember. I mean, I was kind of a little crazy in middle school. I was very emotional, running around. I kicked my best friend. Oh, I feel so bad. But I've made amends and I've apologized. But she's always going to remember that. But now we can kind of laugh at it, right? We can laugh at it because I'm not that little girl anymore. However, that karma that I did, that still resides in me. And I still remember doing that. And I still have remorse, right? I still have remorse in that. So the law of karma is something you can work with. You can learn and grow with it. You can step to a higher level. You can work it with responsibility. You get to work it. You get to work it. Well, we have a lot more to talk about with karma, and I want to actually start next week to take a little bit deeper dive in the karma, because I want us to figure out, how do you resonate, what choice to make? And we're going to start on that next week. How do you make the right choice so you're setting up good karma? We talked about when you have bad karma or difficult karma that's on with you, how do you transcend it? So you make amends by it, you take responsibility, you find the silver lining, you learn and grow from it, right? And then you do your spiritual practice to stay in the balanced place and project positive karma into the future. That's what you do. That's what you do. and you can do it. You can do it, and I can do it. But before I leave, one thing that we did do, and I want to continue to do, is people have been sending me hearts. And so I want to show you some of the hearts I've gotten. So I told people with our PIP group, hey, look for hearts on the ground. Look at this rose petal that was on the ground. Someone said to me, isn't that awesome? And then look at this one. Someone went into the store, and there it was right there on the magazine rack. And here's another one. Someone went into a fabric store and looked over, and there was this crazy fabric, she said, and I saw this heart just jump out at me. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. See, the karma is that they're making a choice to look for hearts in their life. And by looking for their hearts, they're shifting through their higher consciousness. They're looking for the good that's around them. They're looking for love. They're programming their reticular activating system to see it. See it with us. Look for hearts. Here's another one in a gateway. You see in the middle, the iron rods. Isn't that awesome? That is so awesome. So enjoy looking for hearts. And remember, I'm going to put, if you come up with some hearts, send them to me. I'll show them next week. I want to show people's hearts. They're everywhere. It's so magnificent. So send them to centeredmoment@gmail.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about coaching, mindfulness coaching, I would love to do it. I do it on Zoom all the time. For those who live in the north of LA, I actually do it in my backyard. So that will be great. Remember to, if the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it is enough. You are enough. You are enough because we all have gratitude in ourselves. And that is so magnificent. So I want to thank everyone for showing up. The time here goes by so fast for me. I want to thank New Thought Media Network for all that they do for me, that they set up this, that we're able to be on YouTube, we're able to share these videos, watch all the other ones. They're a nonprofit organization, so they really do thrive on giving to them because they're a nonprofit, so feel free to donate to them. All my love to everybody. Have a wonderful Passover. Have a wonderful Easter. Have a wonderful spring. And know that new things are being birthed out of us all the time because it's the law of karma. So make the choice to the higher consciousness to really fulfill your joy and spread joy wherever you go. Peace and blessings and lots of love. Let's see. Until next week. And remember to like and share the video if someone needs to know about karma. Bye, guys.